Classic screenshots in the sun. Hey, everybody.
Hey, classic screenshots. I don't know who's classic and I don't know who's the screenshot, but we're both here.
Well, we decided last week that you're syrup and I'm the pancakes.
I like that. I like it. Okay. So we'll call it Syrup and Pancake Show.
Hey, welcome to the Syrup and Pancake Show, where we bring you to the islands this week.
The island.
Look at us. Cheers.
Oh, this way. There we go. There you go. Now, before we start, I have to tell you about my evening.
Okay, may I just say, first of all, that you look fabulous.
Well, you know what? Thank you.
Gorgeous. You always do, but I don't know. There's something special. There's a certain sparkle about you right now. I wonder what that's about. Okay, tell me.
Why, thank you so much. I'm QueenB, and this is my co-host. This way, sorry, Henry C.
Henry C.
Henry C. And thank you for joining us. We talk about classic screenshot movies, and this week is Island in the Sun, right?
Ooh, 1957.
1957.
Amazingly beautiful Harry Belafonte.
Yes.
The amazingly beautiful Dorothy Dandridge. The amazingly beautiful Joan Collins.
Wow. Yeah. Well, before I get into that, I gotta tell you about my morning. Okay, so last night I got up. I had a glass, and all the details are necessary, but it's not a long story. So just before I go to bed, I'm thirsty, and I roll myself out of bed, and I say, okay, I gotta get some water. So I get some water, and I get this water, and I get this water, and it's an empty glass, and I'm walking towards the kitchen. Now there is a little mini hallway between the kitchen and the living room, a little mini hallway, and my dog sits at one end, and at the other end is the kitchen. So here is my dog, and it's looking at something. I don't know what it's looking at. Oh, by the way, my dog has a cone on his head because he has itchy, and he happens to bite himself. Yes, and I can't have my dog biting himself, so that's why he has a cone. But that has neither here nor there. Story.
What's his name again? What's his name?
Congo.
And mine is Flat Stanley.
Oh,
we'll introduce Congo and Fat Stanley.
We'll have a show dedicated to them one day. Some animal
dog movie.
Anyways. Yeah, dog movie. So as I'm walking to the hallway, the kitchen with this glass in my hand that just happens to be empty, I see this huge spider right in front of my path. It's basic. If it could speak, it would say, "You ain't going nowhere."
Okay.
And I stood there and I noticed it. And I noticed this particular spider that I noticed because I read animals, landscapes. This is, what I do. I do dream interpretation. Yeah, I'm so into this kind of stuff. I believe in omens, all that sweet stuff. So anyways, as I'm looking, the spider doesn't look normal. Just doesn't look normal. I'm like, why are you in my house? You're not in my house. And if you are, you're in some corner webbing up something in the corner. So
hopefully not the dog. No, go ahead.
So my dog it's like, maybe a foot away from my dog. And I'm looking at my dog go, not even a bark. It's not even bothering it. Just looking at it. And so I step over my dog and I go, okay, I'm going to breathe in this courage. And I try to glass it. And this fucker.
That's okay. We are rated R. This is not for children. That's okay. No offense to the mothers out there. Yes.
It ran and it started darting back and forth like it knew I wanted to catch it. So anyway, so about 30 seconds into it, I caught it and I scream like, ah! And my husband gets up and goes, what's wrong? I said, I caught a spider. I did it. I caught a spider. He's like, really? I said, yes. And then he proceeded to tell me that there was one a week ago that was twice the size of that. My point is, I don't like killing spiders because they represent the weaving of magic, the weaving of life, the weaving of circumstances in your situation. And right now, I'm waiting for a lot of circumstances to be weaving.
Right, weaving all together. Yeah, and they're good luck. They're good luck if they're found.
Thank you for good luck. So and my husband loves testing me, but I didn't know I was being tested. He's like, so what do you want to do with it? And I said, well, I don't want to kill it, but we can put a piece of paper on it and take it out. And he goes, well, if you want me to kill it, I will. And I went, and I thought about it and I said, no, this is my individual preference right now. And I want to save it. I'm going to save this freaking spider. So my husband goes, okay. So I put the paper down and I walk outside. And not only do I walk outside, I literally walk out my house and I walk down the street corner because I can't have this spider come back. And I leave it there. Lo and behold, I come back and I look at my husband and he said, I said, are you surprised that I walked down the street? He said, no. I said, why? He goes, because I did the same thing with the other spider. I said, but you were telling me to kill it. He goes, no. I like to see your individuality because you need to be individual. And I always test that about you. And I went, he's a fucking keeper, all right. So he goes, that's just a lesson because the business that you are, I love to talk. I love hosting, co-hosting.
Yeah.
You have to keep your individual, just like the show. So when we talk about movies and everything, these are our opinions, individual.
Nice way to weave that.
Wasn't that awesome? Oh, come on, that was awesome.
Absolutely brilliant. Love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Another weave by QueenB.
I was going to give myself props for the segue, but you did it, so thank you.
I did, of course, I noticed these things.
Okay, so that was my evening. Thank you very much. So tell me about yours, gorgeous. Tell me about yours.
Oh, about my spider?
Your last night. What did you do last night, mister?
I had the weirdest. We are going to get to the movie. But
yeah, this is a show. We have to talk about the host and what we're doing.
It's our show. It's classic screenshots of our lives.
Ooh, okay. Go ahead.
I've been having these weird dreams, but they're like dreams within dreams within dreams. Like layers of dreams. Like I had this one dream and then I fell asleep in the dream and I knew I was dreaming. And then I woke up in another dream. And then I fell asleep in that dream. And then I woke up in another dream. And then I woke up again in the second dream and then like made my way back through. It was so bizarre. Have you ever had this happen?
No, I've only seen it in a movie.
Interpret that shit, honey.
Whoa.
Inception. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I wasn't freaked out by it at
Right.
all. I wasn't like, what is going on? Or I didn't feel trapped in a dream or anything. And I do experience sleep paralysis. It's part of my PTSD journey. And at first that's freaky, where you are fully awake, fully lucid. You know that you're dreaming. And you know it's time to wake up and you cannot move a muscle. You can't open your eyes. You can't do it. You know this? You've done this?
Yes, I've had that.
It's freaky. But then what I realized was that that's my body's way of protecting me from triggers. If there's like a pending trigger that could happen, like it usually happens on milestone days around my son's passing or something else, traumatic or whatever that's happened in my life. That's when it tends to manifest. So I know now to embrace it and to thank my body for protecting me from those triggers, because when I'm in my dream state, I'm fully in control.
Ah, interesting.
Right? If that monster comes out from behind the tree,
right,
you pull my magic wand out of the sky and go zap, you're a cupcake, and then eat him. I do this. This is what I do.
That's pretty amazing that you say that, because I remember telling somebody that I had a dream myself, and I'm like, oh, I felt scared and I'm paralyzed, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, and then this woman, Rosalie, wherever you are, last thing I know that you were in Hawaii. So wherever you are, I want to say thank you.
Rosalie, Hawaii.
Rosalie, wherever you are. Rosalie B. Anyways, moving on. I remember she said, you have the power to go in and change your dream. And I remember one time I had this dream and somebody was going to shoot me. I don't get into it. And I looked at the person and I said, I think it was like in 20 whatever. I said, I don't think you have a gun. I think you have a bouquet of roses. And it turned into a bouquet of roses. And I was like, oh my gosh, you have the power in your dreams to change it.
Did you ever see Cinderella from 1950, whatever?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
You know, when the fairy godmother, she's like, where did I put that fucking thing? Where did I put my fucking wand? Where's that fucking wand? And then she pulls it out of the sky. Oh, there it is. You know?
Right.
I forgot I put it in the sky, right? That's how I do. That's how I do in my dreams. I can always, if I'm in a situation that needs changing, I pull a fairy godmother wand out of the sky and I go, "Ding," and then
What?
turns into a pumpkin.
And you know, to our audience, you know that you have powers to change your dreams. You have powers to change your life. And if your life means to end up on an island somewhere with the sun,
in the sun,
do it. Segway.
Except not this island, because there was some shit going down on this island that I did not want.
I agree.
Do you want to give the synopsis of the story?
Well, the synopsis from
For people who haven't watched it. Now, just so you all know, in the undercarriage of our videos of last week and then also tonight, there's the synopsis, brief synopsis, and then a link, because all the movies that we show, and while you're down there in our undercarriage, all up in our undercarriage, you might want to click that subscribe button and ring our bell. You can ring my bell, right?
You know it.
Click the bell, click subscribe, because numbers matter in this game, and we want to grow our followers. We want to make sure that you're getting the content that you want. And if you click those things, then and like us, thumbs up, then that'll help us help you. So
yes, anyway. And you know, this is something that we never really gave the story of how we met, but we should do that a show. But so we met on in an app that shares wisdom, and I was
wisdom, in fact.
It's called Wisdom. You gotta check it out. We
met in Wisdom.
Yeah, met in Wisdom, and Henry was a guest, and he popped up into my space, my very safe space to share your thoughts. And I'm QueenB Divine. That's what I did, and we started talking. And a lot of people talk about, okay, when we met, it was just like, boom. It was just, it was resonating. It was like the radio, because most people describe meeting somebody when you resonate with someone like a radio tuning into a certain channel. And with Henry, it was like turning into this specific channel, and it felt right. It felt so right. And couple of weeks later, I was on his podcast. Check out his podcast. The link are in below, right there, just right.
Okay, I'll put a link down in the undercarriage. It's the
Lost Traveler. At that! See, magic.
Yeah, it's a Lost Cat Traveler podcast. LostTravelerPodcast.com.
And just
go there because
taking the wisdom that we've all learned and putting it and asking the audience to share it. And I was one of those blessed guests to share what my wisdom of what I've learned. And I believe I said my imagination.
Yeah.
I believe I said imagination. Anyhow, from there we hit it off. And then a couple of weeks later, here we are. We were talking about, we've had these great phone conversations. We were just talking about
WhatsApp. Yeah.
Just talking on WhatsApp about whatever we want to talk about. And then suddenly he says, you know what, we should record this. I'm like, hell yeah, let's record this shit.
Yeah. So we were talking about, you're my first guest that I really considered to be a co-host. And I love that vibe of co-hosting versus just here's my special guest author, It felt more like a co-hosting situation. And I loved that about our dynamic.
Right.
And you remember we were talking about all those things that were matching up. Like, oh, yeah, we both have a theater background. Oh, yes, we both love classic movies. And then we started talking about classic movies. And we started talking about their impact on culture. Right? And that's when, I can't remember which of us said, let's do a channel on YouTube. I think it was her.
It was him. It was definitely him.
I don't know. It was such a lush and delicious conversation,
and this is how it manifested classic screenshots. And we have a love of classic movies, because I think one time in the conversation I said I love Turner classic movies, and that was the end of it. That was the end of it. Like, that's it. This is match made on Earth.
That's right. And classic is sexy. So that's
if anybody knows, I'm wearing my sexy hair today. I did my sexy hair myself.
Beautiful, shiny, and gorgeous. Look at that.
Yeah, and bald is sexy too. I mean,
thank you. I'm not completely
classic.
bald.
Well, you're not, but classic. Classic.
Yeah.
Just classic. It's all classic. It's all in here. So
Jim was not bald. Harry Belafonte and Dorothy Dandridge were not bald.
They were not bald. They were
James Mason was not bald either. I love James Mason. I love him. He's a British actor.
Right.
And Joan Fontaine is the other star in this film. Right.
Right.
And it is, I had never seen it before.
Right.
Before QueenB and I saw it together. Because usually my delicious sort of treat is to watch my friends watching movies that I've seen and love, but they've never seen, and watch their minds get blown. Well, we both got to get a mind blow on this one in the same moment.
Yes.
And it was really cool. Again, this is another movie like last week, Limitations of Black Life. Of life. That was pre-civil rights movement in the US. Right. And yet they were dealing with issues of people of color, people, passing for white, or dynamics between people of different shades, both physical color shades and cultural shades. Thank you. And this one is 2 years earlier than Imitations of Life. 1959. This is 1957, and they went deep.
Right, they went deep. They went very deep. Before we get into that whole movie, but I find it really, the movies that we watched, so 1957, 1959. Yeah. A lot of us give the 50s a very hard time. Like, oh, it was so bad. I mean, for me as a Black woman, said straight up, I love the timing, but the racial shit that was going down ain't up and all that. So I'm glad I wasn't. The racial tension, I was not up and all that. I would have not requested to come down in that time. But barring that, saying that, these two movies, and there are many more that we will cover, there were people really trying to bring to the forefront the issues that were plaguing certain communities. Yeah. And sometimes we say, oh, we're not trying hard enough. We are doing the best we can. And this movie highlights, from my perspective, I believe 4 couples. There is the Belafonte and Dorothy Dandridge couple, the Joan Collins, and you might need to help me with these names.
Yeah, Joan I forget the guy's name. Hold on, let me find it. Okay. Keep talking.
But there's 4 couples, and as he's looking that up, there are 4 couples, and each of them have their, Harry Belafonte and Dorothy Dandridge are black actors, playing actresses, playing a character. These 2 characters come to an island, and you don't know if they're together. You just know that they show up together. And then you have
they live on this island, and it's a Caribbean island, and it was filmed where? Barbados and
Grenada. Grenada. Yeah. And so these 4 characters have these different dynamics, and they really put to the forefront of those who are. It wasn't about passing necessarily, but Joan Collins, who we thought, we think that she is mixed, right?
Well, that's a big reveal, because
that's a big reveal. And I say mixed for some people. I come from the generation I say mixed, so please do not offended when I say mixed, because the term is biracial. There's no labels, but yeah. But the term of 1957, this is what was going on. So don't get all caught up in the words, because
don't get
we
your
should have.
panties in a wad.
Don't get your panties in a wad. Just let the energy flow, because if this triggers you, you could just deal with it. I'm just saying this is what was going on. This is how it is. So, anyways, there are four
And leave a
couples.
comment below if it does trigger you. We want to know about it.
Yeah,
So
tell me if QueenB is pissing you off. Just put in the comments, pissing me off. Whatever.
You could not even possibly.
Yeah, man. So
listen, the other two actors, Michael Rennie and Stephen Boyd.
Yes,
were the other love interest, and Joan Fontaine. So
yes.
it's this really layered story. This is when the Caribbean was largely under British rule.
Yes.
Right? Still in the 50s. And so you had a lot of white folks who were the descendants of plantation owners, slave owners, right? And they were at the higher echelon of the socioeconomic strata.
Yeah, the upper class.
The islanders of African descent, especially, and indigenous, but they didn't really go into indigenous.
No, they did not. They did not.
It was really about people who were descendants of enslaved people and descendants of the enslavers, right? And one of the things I thought was really telling in this story was there were a couple comments made about how these islands are the most racially mixed, right? They were black kids with blonde hair. There were blonde kids. I mean, there were mixed, mulatto, beautiful, caramel colored chocolate, dark chocolate, delicious. It was a candy box of human.
It was a beautiful candy box. Yes.
It was really cool that they did that they showed that.
Right.
And even with the children there, but it also was indicative. There was a dark underbelly of, we all know now that many of the plantation owners would rape their enslaved people.
Yes.
And bear children who would then also become slaves. They would never be allowed into the house, into the estate, unless maybe there was a true love relationship and the children were very light-skinned and could pass.
Right.
You did not see a lot of mixed race or biracial people, gaining status in that society.
Right.
So it came out in that one family. Joan Collins and James Mason are brother and sister, and their parents are very, very wealthy. He's like a governor or something. And it comes out in a discussion from the mother that his mother, their grandmother, was of African descent. And James Mason's character, her brother, Joan Collins's brother, is a dyed-in-the-wool racista. He's a Rastafarian. He is completely hates any melanin in his circle at all. He can smell it coming. And then when he finds out that his grandmother was of African descent.
Jamaican.
That needs to be a t-shirt. Jamaican like me.
Jamaica. When I heard that, I was like, yeah, okay. No, I love the movie regardless. But when you can feel a kinship with it a little bit more, I was like, oh, okay. So he finds out that his grandmother, had Jamaican lineage. So now everybody's like up in a tivy now. Oh my goodness. Right. I can't walk around. How are people going to know? Why would people? I don't want to be a part.
And Joan Collins' boyfriend is going to be like, he's in the nobility, the English nobility. He's British. Right. And he wants to take him back to England and make babies. Right. And the mom's like, well, what happens if that baby comes out black? And they're not going to let a black child into the House of Lords because we
already know that. This is real life, by the way. Anyway, moving on.
Well, it's still timely, isn't it?
It's still timely, and it kind of plays out. It plays out what's happening now. I don't know what goes on in the castle of Buckingham Palace, but we know beautiful Meghan has been there, and she has their own story. I don't know. I'm on the side of truth. I wasn't there, so I will never know. But we do know that when it comes to royal history, British history, there are not a lot of black folks in the queendom, in the kingdom. They just weren't. There just wasn't. It is not bad.
There was a Black Queen of England.
Well, yes, but you know that they don't talk about her as.
They don't talk about her.
No, they don't talk about her. So, and it, you know, it's not to give leeway to them feeling any way, but we do have to feel compassion to those who are genuinely new to the mixing and the openness of unity, because it includes everybody. So, you know, this movie really takes part in going, how does it feel not only to be a black person, but not even that, to know that you have been trudging along in this white, gorgeous little skin of yours, and then you find out, oh, there's a dab of black. What are you gonna do?
What you gonna do if you have a black child? Either one of them could have had a black baby, right?
Right.
Recessive genes and all that. So what James Mason's character did, because he was a politician, he was going to be vying for governor or whatever.
Right.
He decided to play it to get the black folks voting for him. Right. He was going to come out and say, I'm one of you. I understand your situation. I understand. And they were not having it.
No, we're not having that. And a lot of people, you know, this is a great place. I love this space because I'm just genuinely me. You know, being a black woman or a black man is a very unique experience. And I ask my brothers and sisters who are white that you do not have to you say, oh, I know what you feel like. All you have to do is support me. You don't have to get all weird about it. You don't have to pay, you know, I know there are things that we could be paying back, and that's, you know, giving back shit, but that we're not talking about that. We're talking about a personal level. You can support each other in our differences by just loving us the way we are. You know what I mean? And in this movie, you know, Dorothy, I mean, I think it was Joan Collins' character, when she found out that she was not in that running for a mixed child or mulatto.
Right, because it was revealed later that she was not.
It was revealed later. But that's when I saw it change.
Father. Yeah.
That's when I saw the dynamic change, because I realized she had like this breath of fresh air, and everything that was on hold. She didn't want to get into marrying the royal family because she didn't know what the DNA would bring out if they got pregnant. She didn't want to, she didn't want to have to hide a secret. She didn't feel comfortable. She didn't feel like she even was worthy of the royal hand. And then when she found out, all of a sudden, boom, all of these problems disappeared. They just disappeared.
She told her boyfriend, right? About her. Told her boyfriend. And he was like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I love you just the way you are.
Oh, yes. Right? He was a young Harry.
It wasn't that Harry.
Not that Harry. No, he was a young Harry.
But he was on the way.
Open. He understood the value of love doesn't come in a package that is always neatly wrapped or accepted in life. Now, talking about my own life, I am married to a white man who happens to have, you know, England. His grandmother is from England. His father is from Canada. They're like 8th generation Canadians. I mean, what? I know, like, what? But
Canada's not that old.
Maybe it's not that old. So when I looked at this movie, I saw myself in there, because Harry Belafonte and his love interest in the movie. She was falling for his character. She found him, you know, wild and eccentric and different, and he was handsome. He could sing a tune. Dale. He could sing a tune, and I'm sure that's not why she loved him, but she found him very different from the other suits. What you call them, suits? Yeah, not suits. The word is skipping me. Doesn't matter. I'll come back to it. So she found him more interesting than many. So she always wanted to push that, hey, let's get together. Let's do that. And, you know, you mentioned the character who was running for elections, trying to say, hey, I have black blood in me. My grandmother was black, blah, blah, blah. He calls them out and says, no. You're just using this to gain leverage and our people. And when you look at when the camera takes a shot of the audience, it is pure, beautiful brown black people in the audience. And the only people who are of white lineage are sitting on the stage.
On the stage,
They're
yes.
on
You know
the
what that
stage.
reminded me of? That reminded me of when the Pope came to Canada recently.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, he went to go see the Aboriginals, the indigenous
Yeah.
people. Yes, yes.
And up on his high up platform, on
Right.
his fucking throne, hello,
Hello.
were all these priests and shit, and the elderly indigenous folks had to like climb those steep stairs up to his thing to kiss his hand and say, "We accept you. We forgive you." What?
Not to get off of anything, but just to take a little side note down, a little detour down that road. When he came, he went to the indigenous people, the Aboriginal people, the First Nation people, and said we were very sorry that we stole your kids and your family, separated them and put them in institutions to mind fuck them. I'm just going to be mind fuck them into believing their way of life was no good, and this whatever way of life they were offering them was better. So anyways, he comes to Canada and he says, "I'm sorry." Me personally, again, this is my personal opinion, the sorry doesn't cut it. Not for my world. It just doesn't.
Sorry. And I have family who are indigenous, and they were up in arms. And I was up in arms with them saying, no, this is more of the same. And this is not a side note to Island in the Sun, because this is all about colonial attitudes.
Yes. There we go. I love that colonial attitude.
Still
climbing
an uphill battle, that we're still noticing. And one of the reasons we have this show, this talk show, is to hold up a mirror and say, wait a minute, this is nothing new, you guys. This has been happening since the 1930s. This has been happening since the 1950s. We're still having the same damn conversations that we've been having for 2-3 generations now. And enough, as we say in Yiddish, genug.
That's new. Okay. No, that's new.
My grandmother is screaming.
Thank you, Grandma.
It's serious business. We have to talk about this. This is why we're watching these films.
Right.
It's because classic isn't just sexy, but classic is a time machine to remind us who we've been, remind us where we've come from, all of us. Remind us how far we have come, but also how far we have yet to go. Right. I was going to ask you a question about the costumes. We noticed that the costumes were very deliberate.
Yeah, very. Oh my God, so delicious. Okay, I first noticed. I don't know when you first noticed it, but I think because we watch these movies together. We get on this phone and we watch them together. Okay, I think he said it right. Anyways, Dorothy Dandridge comes out, and she walks up to the palace, and she is just perfect. Her hair, she's flawless. She's gorgeous.
She's got her hair, her eyebrows are all.
What would that color be? It's not orange, but
no, I would say that is persimmon.
Persimmon. Did you hear that? The word of the day is persimmon.
Persimmon.
Okay? When you hear it, just start yelling and screaming randomly in your house.
Today's episode is brought to you by the word persimmon.
So this color, persimmon. I love that color. Oh my, that name is delicious. Persimmon. You can tell because everybody who is in the background is in this pale, what did you call it? Band-Aid? I think
it's Band-Aid. The white people were all wearing Band-Aid. And you know what's interesting is that Harry Belafonte's character was also in shades of white Band-Aid.
Right, white Band-Aid.
We're not talking the new Band-Aid of all different colors.
No.
A world of flesh. We're talking about the 1950s Pepto-Bismol pinkish cream nasty calamine lotion Band-Aid.
this is a great movie to look at and see how fashion plays a dynamic role in telling the story. It's not just, hey, put on clothes, let's make it work. It's strategically placed for you to notice and highlight the themes inside the movie. For instance, Dorothy Dandridge comes in, and you notice she is a Black woman. She's standing with a Black man, and she's in this persimmon color dress, which is just gorgeously tapered to her body. It just
beautifully.
It's that old fashioned style where they have the collar up, and in the dress is just
the power dress.
Yeah, exactly. It's a power dress. And she moves along into this movie, and you can take this, explain this a little further, Henry. See, as she moves along in the movie, the persimmon changes. It goes from a full body persimmon to continue. Go ahead, tell the story, brother. Tell the story.
Well, the film opens up, and there's this cocktail party, right, with all the higher ups and everything, and it's a mixed. It's not a just a white party, right? There are brown people there. There are native, India people. Right. There are, it's all shades are there. Predominantly white, but there are interspersed throughout a variety of people who are politicians or who may be somewhere up in the, in the higher ups. Right. And then and everyone's in pale shades of linen, right? The men are in white linen, the women are in silver gray, like dove gray, party dresses and things like that. And in walks Miss Dorothy Dandridge, all up in persimmon. And that's her color. That's her theme color throughout the entire film. And she meets this guy. She's being passed around the room in a way, right?
Yeah. Well,
you don't know if she and Harry Belafonte are.
Yeah, they don't give you that tidbit of information down.
And you don't get that. I didn't get that vibe from the beginning. I got more of a brother-sister vibe.
That's what I did as well.
That could have gone down that road, but I think her sights were set on her own ambition.
Right.
And she was an educated stenographer, like a secretary, and she wanted to work as a secretary.
Yes, she did.
In 1957, for a woman to be going to work already was
big deal. It's a big deal.
But a Black woman in the islands,
right,
going to work in a white office, right? So every time you see her character throughout the film, she's wearing persimmon head to toe.
Right.
When she's finally achieved that position in the office, the only persimmon, it's still there, but she's in white,
right,
with persimmon lips and a little tiny persimmon brooch on her top button. That's it, the pop of color.
Yeah, that's what's for me. I believe I don't know what the director or the writer was trying to convey, but I can tell you, for me, it made me get to the point where I was thinking, okay, so before she was working for these higher ups, white people, she was just dressed in her beautiful persimmon color, and once she gets it, like you said, she's in white.
Before, right? A pharmacy or something.
Say again.
Wasn't she working in a pharmacy?
In a pharmacy.
At the register, right?
And she sets her sights higher. But for me, it meant that she had assimilated. Or what was the word that you said? You said, was it injected?
Dare I say?
Oh, come on.
Inseminated.
Inseminated. I love it. Inseminated into white culture. She's filled, because it's almost like they're allowing her to become a part of them, but for me, it really takes away from the character, right? Because now she's in this white, and it allows your mind to follow the story through a fashion visual, because now she's being, she's inseminated into that culture. It's not that she's losing her culture, because she's keeping it right here, which is very interesting, the throat chakra and the mouth. So she's still right. So it's a very interesting take, right? So she's like, I still got my voice, right? I'm still Black, or however you want to say, but the rest of me has to pay the bills.
Well, and they were passing her around that party. She was
Right.
dancing every old white toad shriveled up.
Right.
You know, and that's what a girl had to do to advance very often. We talked about this last week, sleeping your way to the top and the Me Too movement and all that. This is also part of that conversation. And these were the roots of that conversation, right? Whereas Harry Belafonte's character, he was very self-assured.
Yes.
He was a politician, right?
Yes.
And he was just sort of hanging out at the bar watching all this shit going.
Yeah. He wasn't, so for him, I think he got, because if you look at his fashion, it really never changed through the movie. He basically wore those pale colors, those mute colors. And it almost as the director wants you to go down the road that he's never changing. He's black roots. There's nothing he's gonna do to change it.
But he wants to rise up on his own terms to be at the same level as all these other pale clothed people.
Right, exactly.
There's a woman all wrapped up in band-aids like a mummy of Egypt next to him at the bar, right? Joan Fontaine's character. I mean, if that was not Band-Aid, I don't know what it was, that dress. But it was she was hanging out at the bar looking his fine ass up and down, right? She's an older white woman and she's intrigued with his intelligence, with his confidence, with that bravado that he had.
Right.
And she was pursuing him. And he was starting to go there. Right. And every time you see Joan Fontaine's character, she's in Band-Aid, some shade of Band-Aid, right? And then when he ends up taking her to his village, do you remember what color she was wearing? Was it? It was persimmon.
Persimmon. It's now role switch. And here's another thing. Persimmon, don't know. This is one of the parts too that I found interesting, because he takes her to the fishing village, or his village. It's not fishing, it's his village. And they're on the sidelines while all these let me tell you, some buff men in the crowd.
They did not have an ounce of fat on them.
They're pulling the nets in, right? Because
their shorts clinging to their thighs and everything else they got.
Muscles rippling inside. Oh my God. It was beautiful to watch. It really was. So as they're pulling in these fish nets, and because the fish boats go out, take the nets with them, and then they pull them back in. He's singing Harry Belafonte starts singing a song, and she's just like, oh my God, this is so neat. She's watching it in her persimmon dress. She loves it. But for her, it's almost like I get the vibe that she thinks, oh, this is so sweet. It's so exciting. It's like men are pulling. It's so. But Harry Belafonte said, no, it's a fucking way of life. It's a tough.
It's a way of life, and he said, and this is a big but.
But
how did he posture himself while he was singing that song?
Right above her, with one knee up, and he was like basically singing down.
His crotch was in her face, and she's like, "Look!" And so she's like, "I don't want to look. Should I look? No, I shouldn't. I can look away. I can look at no. Get that over here, and here's his crotch. Oh, I can smell it.
I don't know what to do." And it basically, I mean, this is just a little like persimmon to him meant, you're wearing persimmon now, bitch. You're mine.
You're one of us now. Right? But then she wanted to. I don't know if it was just the danger of it.
Right.
Of her, of where it would put her in society to be with a black man at that time.
Right.
In a mixed couple. But he didn't fall in love with her.
No, they mentioned a really amazing or a nice piece in the movie, which I can relate to, being, married to a white man, is that he said it's different for a black woman to step out and marry or go out and be with a white man, opposed to it's different if a black man bringing a white woman in. And I can tell you that I gotten a lot of flack back in the day. Now I handle my business properly, but back in the day, when they saw me with a white guy, people got really offended. And I'm like, and I used to get really mad at them. And I remember I took it personally. I said, unless I'm the last Black woman on earth, do not talk to me about, doing it. I would get offended because it had nothing to do with color. At the time, I just wanted company, and it just happened to be that these type of people came out. And me, I don't, my mom used to say a lot of things that she knew this about me because I was born in Canada. So my options were a lot opened. Like I could have married anybody.
Right.
But I know that when my brother brought in a white woman, it wasn't a really big deal. Like, and he had a couple of kids with them. It was
never, because my Black friends,
right.
my women friends especially,
right,
I think they may not talk about it a lot, but the sense I get underneath is that perpetual message of you're not good enough, you're too Black, you're too dark, and men don't want you. Black men don't want you.
Yeah,
they want
Black men
tiny blonde white women to be on their arm.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at some of these old movies where there's a dark woman, a dark-skinned woman on the arm of a dapper white man, oh, she's so exotic.
Yeah.
There's something. She's a temptress. She's an island temptress.
Yeah, she's an island temptress.
And that's kind of how Dorothy Dandridge. She's a flirt.
Wine. She's a fine-looking woman. Goddammit.
Fine and.
Yes.
Chiseled. She was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. But the character was also, it's all in her eyes. She is a brilliant eye actress. Right. And she would flirt with everybody with her eyes.
How you
doing?
Right.
How you doing? And that's what I see very often. Maybe not all the time, and certainly not in certain circles.
Right.
But that's why I wanted to ask you too about the difference between the two, and you're of Jamaican descent.
Yes, I am. Jamaica. Hey, what's up, my Jamaican people? What more fun? What y'all do? Anyways, go on. What are you saying?
At this time,
right,
in Jamaica, obviously you weren't born yet, but this is your parents' generation, right? Did they ever talk about these experiences and mixed couples? And even in Canada, is it more accepted? Has it been more accepted since the 50s and 60s in Canada?
Well, when I remember when I was growing up, and I grew up mostly in the 80s, born in the 70s, but grew up in the 80s. Yeah. We knew, my mother used to say to me that she never ever said, don't do this or don't do that. She always said, you're a Black girl and you got to be careful because a lot of white men might see you as a trinket opposed to a human being. And I kept that at the back of my mind. I don't know what I was going to do with that information at 9 years old.
Right.
But
no, got to plant the seeds early.
Yeah, it stayed in my mind. And one thing my mom used to always say was make sure my diction was on top, because she always said that what held her back was her accent, because as soon as they saw her, they heard her accent and they would say, oh, you're ignorant, you're not educated. And they're far more educated. I can tell you, mathematics and English, all that is just above board. It's just some tight shit up there in the islands, but that's neither here nor there. But when I got out into the world, I remember when I would be dating and their parents, the white men's parents, the ones that I did date, would say, I remember we were dating for 8 years. I remember from grade 7 to the first year of college. And at one point, his mother finally caught wind of it. And she said, because they were great to me. Oh, they were so, every weekend we hung out, anything I needed, they would give it to me. For 8 years, they were my people. They were my people. And as soon as I said, you know what, I think maybe we can get babies and have them married, they said, I don't want no Black blood in my family. That we ended the relationship that day. I remember crying and going, what happened?
What year, what century was this?
Oh, this was 19, when did I graduate from high school? I graduated from high school in 19, so it'd be, so it would have been in somewhere around the mid 90s. And I remember just feeling very hurt.
These are Canadian people?
Yep, they're Canadian people, straight up Canadian. I was really hurt because my people, whatever people that I knew that didn't care about that, they just said, "Don't lose who you are," blase, blase. Blase, blase. Okay, so and when I met my husband, his brother already had a dark-skinned woman that made me. She was darker than me, so it wasn't a big deal. They were very kind. Like it all depends on some certain people. I mean, I never had the mindset that I needed to marry white to get up. Never. I just, that was just where my heart was. Every time I see a black man, I said, yeah, great. And I found, this is just a little piece. So if you're listening to this is how I felt. I felt that when I got together with a black man, there was like this huge competition to who had it harder. You know what I mean? It was this competition of no, I am, and it's not that I pulled that out, and I could feel it. So every time I got in a relationship with him, I felt like I had to fight to prove who I am. And by the grace of God, I met my husband who didn't care about any of that. I mean, he was very used to the Caribbean cultures. All his friends were Caribbean. He traveled to Grenada. He did a lot of things. So he's already inducted into it. He wore his persimmon.
He wore his persimmon bikini.
Yeah, he wore his.
Well, one thing you said to me about him, your husband, was that he knows more reggae bands than you do.
Yeah, he knows. Like, and that's another thing. A lot of people meet us, and they well, whether if we're listening to, let's see, if we're in the car and we're traveling with a couple, and the White Snake comes on, and I'll start singing the White Snake or Metallica song. I'll start singing it, and then they'll go, "Oh my goodness, your husband taught you all this stuff." I'm like, "No, this is what I grew up on," and they go, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I grew up on White Snake, Led Zeppelin, Metallica, 80 AC/DC, Guns N' Roses." This is stuff because these are the girls that were in the group home. This is the music they listen to. So when my husband came along, all he knew was reggae artists like Anthony B, Luciano, Queen Africa, Chronics, Marley, and he'd be like, "How come you don't know this?" I said, "I don't know. This is just what happened." So he's kept me abreast of the situation through music, and I think that's why I really believe that we were meant to be, because he really keeps me abreast about what's going on. I mean, I will never lose my Jamaican roots. It's not something you can cut off. You just can't. But you can continue to feed them in ways that I wasn't used to, and that's when it comes to the couples, be open-minded, and this movie really shows you what goes on in the minds of people who are afraid to take that leap.
Was there anyone in the film, any character that you related to, male or female, that you felt like, oh yeah, I get that?
I would have to say Dorothy Dandridge. She, coming into the scene, coming into the movie, she walked in and she was with a black man. But the assumption is, are you with that black man? Are you not? Maybe. And whoever the director is, I'm sure you know who the director is. The director wants you to have that confusion, wants you to go, are they together? Are they black? Should they be together?
Yeah.
So I really resonated with her, because most of my life, after leaving home at my 11 years old and living on the streets of Toronto and having to find my way as a black person, a black woman, I realized I had to wear the white dress a lot. And I picked it, and I always wore my persimmon, symbolically. I always had my persimmon.
And your voice.
And my voice, always.
You're always talking about, the way that you communicate, and conversation is the cure, right? That's her podcast, by the way. Not down in the upstairs.
Check it out.
But that is, I can totally see that, because you're always talking about your voice and your speech and how it represents who you are, but also you had to form it in a way that would help you assimilate into a white culture. And people who hear you on the phone don't know till you walk in the room very often.
Many times, it's happened many times where I'll apply for jobs and I'll say, "Greetings, is Mr. So-and-so?" And they were like, "Yes, and your name?" And I have a very common white name. Like the last name is very common. So you know, yeah, there you go. And they would sit there. And if I was trying to hide out, you just outed me. God damn it!
I know. Got you back from last week. No.
So, excuse me, I forgot what the fuck I was.
Well, you were talking about
the phone.
Yeah,
the phone. If you were born before 2000, a phone is symbolic as a phone. So the phone. So I would talk and they'll be like, come in for an interview, come on in, and I'd be like, thank you very much. And I would go in and they would be, turn their back towards me because they're preparing paperwork or whatever nonsense they're doing. And they turn around, they see me, they go, you're black. I mean, it happened to me at the Toronto Stock Exchange when I was a receptionist.
Did they verbalize that?
Yes, they did.
Did they say you're black? Like you don't know?
Yeah.
Like
I am black. I remember a lot of people. I don't know why people think I don't know. I do know. And I got to the point where, like at the Toronto Stock Exchange, when I was a receptionist there, this I don't know where he was, but he was working in the office, and he walked in and he saw me and he stopped. He goes, "Did you know the last reception had blonde hair, blue eyes?" And I went, "No, I didn't." He goes, "You're black." And I went, "Get out of here." Well, sure enough, the next day I didn't show up because they didn't want me back.
No. Oh my God. They didn't want you black.
They didn't want me black. He was so disappointed not to see a blonde hair, blue eye. I was like, I'm not getting this job again.
Even in Canada
to this day.
Nice.
It's and I have to say that, as I said, sometimes I've gotten better now and more who I am, and I love my skin color. I love my roots. I love that I'm a maroon. My roots are from Jamaica. I love that, and I plan to return there and be of service to my brothers and sisters in that part of the world. But I even in today's society, I'm always amazed by racism, and if I see them under the age of 20, I get I get a little miffed because I know someone's teaching them that.
That's right.
If you're over like 50, 60, I just let you, fuck, I get it. I don't give a fuck because I don't care about you. You'll be dead soon. It's a generation that is under the age of 20 that still looks at me and calls me the N-word and thinks it's okay.
Right.
And they say, "Oh, it's a G. I just say with an A." I'm like, no. That's not how it works, my brother. You can hear the music all you want, but you cannot call me that. And it's just the way it is. So we have a lot of work for them. That's why I believe classic screenshots, the movies that we look at, really remind us that we have done some work, but we've got a lot more work to do. We have.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. We do.
Amen.
We
Hallelujah, glory.
And hopefully we are contributing to that work. This is a safe space to explore and to go back and look at, the fact that other generations, our ancestors, our prior ancestors, were also dealing with the same uphill battle. The same it gives me a little bit of comfort to know that in the 1950s, Rodgers and Hammerstein wrote a musical called South Pacific, and there was a song called "You've Got to Be Taught." You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. I mean, it's really, it's
home. Stop. Applause, everybody. That was gorgeous. Thank you. Take your bow. Ooh, but it's true. It's very true. You have to be taught.
Yeah. And it was a white character who sang that.
Right.
Because he had fallen in love with a Polynesian girl.
Right.
And he had a white girlfriend back home. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an inner battle in him.
Right.
That he can't allow himself to love this beautiful soul because of what he was taught. And I think that a lot of people go through that very privately.
Yes.
Right. You talk about what you go through inside. I think a lot of, folks who are not of the Black experience or of the BIPOC experience, I should say, right, that are born of the Eastern, of the European diaspora, right? Of the migration from Europe that took over the North American, South American continents, right? That there is an inner battle. There is an inner struggle. You know, Prince Harry was going through that struggle big time.
Like a
And
mofo.
he was public about it. I really honor him for that, for being so public.
I love that, after everything's, fallen to the ground, he still made the choice to say, I love this girl. It's not about my heritage or what people think. I am in love with this woman. And he not to get too far off it, because he does mirror Princess Di's how she wanted the world, how she wanted to allow her sons to grow up with the most opportunity and not be just segregated to the royal thought process. She did,
and that mirrors Harry Belafonte's character.
Yes.
In because doesn't he say to Joan Fontaine's character that
were we talking about Harry or Harry? Because I went off on two different Harrys. Okay, good.
No, we went off on Prince Harry, and now we're going off on Prince Harry.
Okay.
So, but he said to Joan Fontaine's character that his fear is that at some point they're going to have a fight, and
that's what I want.
I'm not going to say it.
No. Yeah, he was have a fear that one day they would go off and she would call him the N-word. And not
that's the only time it's spoken in the whole movie, and
that's it. Would be a girl, wasn't it? It was a girl. And when I heard him say that, I went back to my own relationship with my husband, and I cannot recollect a time where he hauled off by just some random and went, "Hey, you N-word." Why? It just wouldn't work, because I believe that everything happens for a reason. There are no accidents in life. That being said, we wouldn't be together because it's in you. It doesn't anything derogatory that we might have worked it out, but it would have been a lot harder, and that trust might have been you know what I mean?
think in 1957 there was a much stronger possibility of that happening than there is in 2022. Because of how people were taught.
That's very true, of how people, and I realize that sometimes white people or anybody who says it, not just white, but since the relationship in the movie is white, but when they say it, it's almost like a testing, because that they say that people teach you how to treat yourself. And sometimes when I was around in college or just doing my thing, I would have people kind of test it. I remember this one guy, and it wasn't in college, it was like maybe 5 years ago. We went to a restaurant, and this is a very predominantly white area. I can count you. I've been here 7 years. I can probably count how many black people I saw. My point is, we befriend people because I have such a vivacious attitude.
Yes, you do.
Everybody loves me. So we went to this bar and we sat down, me, my husband, and about 6 or 7, and the whole bar is white. So the gentleman says, "Oh, I heard this. What's his name? The comedian. His name always slips me. I love him. The black guy, bald, Chappelle. That's it." David, he goes, "Chappelle, I heard a joke that Chappelle said, and he kept saying the N-word, nigger this, nigger that." And I kept going and going, and I looked at him and I said, "You need to stop," because everybody in the restaurant now is looking at him and I. And he goes, "What's wrong?" I said, if you want to be my friend," and I had the finger too. "If you want to be my friend, Good. You need to not say that anymore." He goes, "But why? It's David Chappelle." I said, "Yes, it's David Chappelle. It is not you, Chappelle. It's David Chappelle." Yeah, and I said, "Remember, people don't understand in what reference you're speaking about. All they hear is the N-word, and all these other people are thinking that you are calling me the N-word, and I'm accepting it. It's not accepted at all."
And I don't not say it because I feel afraid of offending anybody.
Right.
I don't say it out of deep respect for people who that word hits hard and violently. It's a violent word.
It's a violent word. It's not even a triggering word. It's just a violent word that has so much. And I respect this generation for trying to make it cool. But to me, you can't make murder or rape ever cool. And it's been associated with that in such a deep, deep, deep sense that when you say it, it's almost like you're raping the individual. You're
lynching. I mean,
lynching the individual.
It is a lynching. It is
Yeah,
a
so
lynching.
I
Language
don't
has
find
great
the
power.
coolness. Yeah, I
Words
don't find the coolness in it, but I do appreciate this generation trying to minimize its effect, and it shouldn't be minimized. It's a white history word that needs to be put in the forefront, and we just need to deal with it. Just deal with it. I don't hate
what you just said. It's a white history word.
Yes, it's a white history word.
It's not a black history word.
It's not a black
history word, and it was used. That word was ringing in the ears of the people who were on the receiving end of it, and it's still that we talk about epigenetics, and that your genes carry ancestral DNA and ancestral memory, right? And so I think that's part of it. And words have power to resonate through the ages. We have to be mindful, all of us.
We have to be mindful. That's and I think that is, you know, someone said to me back a couple of days ago, or you know, or some message I got. I can't remember where I got it, but it said, you know, it's time for me to stop subconsciously manifesting and become a conscious manifester. And I think that's what we have to do with our words. We have to stop.
T-shirt, merch. Oh! Conscious manifester.
Conscious manifester right here.
It's a merch moment. Yeah. You're right.
Right here. We really have to now just take it for what it is. And white people have to stop making it trying to be cool. Like we cannot cool the history. This is what
you're either cool or you're not cool. You're born cool or you're not.
Yeah, it's just not. It's just there's no way. I think that, you know, a lot of people, they call it white guilt. No one should feel guilty because we all came from the time. We shouldn't. We were at the time, this is what you said, but going forward, we just have to know that we don't want to teach the new generation this. I don't want to teach the new generation the word. I don't want to have to teach my child to navigate around the world and how to react when the word is. I don't want that. That's not what I believe the human experience is about. But that being said, we do have to be conscious manifestors now and be very conscious of the words, so we don't get to a point, oh, I didn't mean it. How do you know? What do you mean you didn't mean what came out of your goddamn mouth? Of course you meant it. Just say it's, you know, I'm gonna work better. I'm gonna move forward. I'm gonna do better. And I think that would relieve a lot of white guilt, because a lot of white guilt, we can't fix what happened in 1952. But that's not to say that what's the reparations? These things shouldn't be paid. Reparations, shouldn't be paid forward. Yes, because everybody has gotten a part of it. The Jewish community, some of the indigenous community, Black community. We need to fully pay that forward so we can move fair. Because I don't think, thank you, the Pope, but I don't think sorry cuts it. Okay.
Sorry doesn't cut it, and making people climb a mountain up to kiss your hand to forgive you. Nah, that don't. That doesn't work for me. Just like, you know, I mean, it's like that Crime and Punishment moment in the movie. There's this whole other thing, and we're done. It's already been over an hour, but we didn't even talk about the murder that happens in this movie that is based on absolutely nothing racial. It's only about this guy who thinks this other man is doinking his wife, and he's not. And then there's this inspector who says, you really need to read Crime and Punishment, because he knows the guy murdered him. Right. And I wish that they had edited that whole side story out of the movie.
Well, yeah, because it does take away. I mean, because I was trying to assimilate it into the movie as well, and I thought the only thing I came up with was the murder happened and it was on misinformation. He was thinking he was in his head. He was thinking too much. And it's a lot to do with how we view each other. Let's not think in the head. Let's just ask questions. Let's just go, hey, why is your hair like that? Why is black hair this? How can ask questions?
Why can't I touch it? Why can't I just walk up to you and touch your hair?
I am available. It's a little slim plug. I'm available on the OWL app. If you want to ask me a black question, go fucking right ahead. I will answer it. Maybe not for not, you know, whatever question you want, I'm going to answer it, because honestly, I think that's why I have my podcast. It's called The Cure is a Conversation. Let's just talk about it. Join me on Owl. It's going to be in the description. I swear to God, I will answer your questions. Just ask, because I think that would avoided a murder in the movie if he had just asked, say, "Hey, baby, blase, what's going on?" The woman would have answered, and he would have saved himself a lot of angst. And just like in the world today, when it comes to interracial dating, all the schisms, if we can just ask, just ask, just ask, and we will help you. Okay.
Ask the question.
There you go.
I'm on Owl too, by the way, and you can.
Yeah, and so if you have any questions.
And it's cheap.
Just ask. I swear, as God is my witness, you want to ask a Black person a question, I will answer. And I won't even laugh at you. I mean, you won't be able to see my face, but I won't be laughing at you. I promise. I promise.
Right. Ask a Black woman, ask a white man. You could do. Oh, we should start that app.
Oh, we go.
Although I don't identify as white, I'm Jewish. I'm not.
I identify as royal chocolate, but I don't mind.
Exactly.
I don't mind.
Kind of a mocha latte with a little extra milk.
I'm dead serious. So anyhow, The Island in the Sun.
Watch it. Well, it's worth a watch.
It's a great movie. If you haven't seen Dorothy Dandridge act, she's great. Harry Belafonte, great. You can finally see them. You can finally see the man that sings "Day-o, daylight come and me want go home." Day-o. You can finally see him on the silver screen. And if you want to know what persimmon looks like, I suggest you check out the movie Island of the Sun.
Island in the Sun. It's worthwhile watch. I think it's really interesting. It's filmed on location.
Yeah.
Beautiful environment. Islands made me want to be there. But it's also I thought it was brilliantly directed. I thought the directorial choices, the pacing might have been a little slow, but it's an island in the sun. The pacing
you go slowly. Yeah. But it's funny that you say that. My ending note, or one of my ending notes, is that when you go to the islands, if you go to any of the Caribbean islands, they always know when tourists, if you're a tourist or a natural, person who was born there. And one thing I remember going to Belize, because I traveled from Mexico all the way to Guatemala, and how they knew that we were tourists, even despite the fact that there are dark-skinned people up in there, was because I was walking too fast and I expected things to happen way too fast. Wow. And they knew that. So that's a little tourist tip for you. And white people, stop getting your hair braided. Don't do it. Don't, God, as I swear. It's same. And it's also a tag, because once you get your hair braided, they know who you see where I'm going with this. Don't do it. Just don't. If you want to, and it helps the economy, but try something else.
Does it help the economy, really? Or that many women?
It'll help that beautiful old black Caribbean woman who needs a few dollars for the week. Yes, I understand.
Yes, I suppose. This is like, I don't know. I have not gotten behind the blonde guy with the man bun or the lock with the locks. Come on. I mean, it doesn't do it. It's not, you don't have the hair for it. You don't.
Very much so. But if you do go traveling the islands, Island of the Sun gives you a nice little piece and feel of what island life. It is slow, it's tranquil, and they're very open and kind, very kind-hearted people. No matter where you go, whether Barbados, Trinidad, Jamaica, anywhere like that, very, very kind. So, coming back to that movie is that people are going to have their opinions of what is going on in life, black, white. But this movie tells you, just open your mind and don't forget to ask questions, because it can lead you down the wrong road. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because it's the Island of the Sun. It's for everyone. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, the Island in the Sun is for everyone. Next week, we have something else that's for everyone, and that is our amazing queen, Whoopi Goldberg, who in 1985, I think it was, she did her first one-woman show on Broadway, and that's what we're going to watch and talk about.
And you just never know. We might have her as a guest.
You know,
you fucking never know.
Wouldn't that be amazing? She's a little busy right now. I know she's promoting her new film.
But you just never know. I'll give her a shout out and say, hey, Whoopi, would you like to show up for a couple of minutes? Because it would really, really help me out. We'll see. And I'm going to do it too. I'll even show you the tweet. I'm going to do it. You're going to tweet her?
You're going to tweet her?
I'm going to tweet her. Fuck yeah, I'm going to tweet her. Hell yeah, I'm going to tweet her.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I will post the screenshot of that tweet.
Okay.
When she responds.
I'm going to
tell her just 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Say, hey.
That's it.
You know, I love you too, because we love this is love. And I know a lot of people have forgotten this Whoopi Goldberg duet from Broadway. They might have seen it on cable, like scrambled cable at that, HBO or whatever, back in the day, back in when I graduated from high school. And it is just so profoundly brilliant still today. It holds up. So I wanted to show it to you because I know you hadn't seen it. And I also wanted to talk about it because there's a whole, I'm not even going to, no, I'm not going to
she was very groundbreaking for me. She did a lot of stuff that, you know, I said in the last show, I remember Rudy, which was Keisha Perlman. What's her name? Pullman? Keisha Knight. She was one, as a little girl, she was the only little girl that I noticed. And as growing up, Whoopi Goldberg was one of the women that I'm like, hey, Black woman, do your thing. Because she really inspired me to just not only be me, but I could be funny. I can be anything and it'd be okay. Like, and she was a comedian. So I'm like, girl, you get this. You get your, you know, so yeah, I'm excited to talk about that and see where that takes us. So join us.
She could wear some locks.
She could wear some locks, I tell you. She can. I tell you, she was you know, where she is now is pretty amazing. You know, I'm being on The View, if I'm correct.
She's like the lead.
She is the anchor. She is the anchor of that show. So, and she's very opinionated. She's got some very amazing opinions. So, hey, let's check us out next week when we're going to talk about Whoopi, Hollywood, Broadway. We're going to do it.
Because she is a sexy classic. It's
sexy. God damn it, sexy.
When we say classic is sexy, we're thinking Whoopi Goldberg.
Right.
And Dorothy Dandridge. They're in the same, and Lena Horne and Harry Belafonte. They are all in the same category of sexy.
Amen. Because I really believe that you bring a message, it should be shared, and we'll share the message what we find out together. Right. Let's do this way. The camera. I gotta remember it's the opposite
backwards, way. Right?
Yeah, it's the opposite. This hand goes that way. Okay.
I know. We keep trying to like pass a pencil across.
I don't have my pen.
That's okay. We'll do it next week. We'll practice. Oh, you got one? Okay, Here you go. No, it's gotta come the other. Bye.
Bye. We love you. Thanks for watching.
Love you. See you next week. See you next Monday.
Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell and like us. Tell your friends.